what does Elisha reveal to us about Hazael of Syria? This is the question we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of 2 Kings on walking through the Bible. Today we're going to be discussing 2 Kings chapter 8, verses 7 to 15. But before we do that, let's read the passage. If you have a Bible with you, turn to 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 7. But if you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So 2 Kings chapter 8, beginning at verse 7. Then Elisha went to Damascus, and Ben-Hadad king of Syria was sick. And it was told him, saying, The man of God has come here. And the king said to Hazael, Take a present in your hand, and go to meet the man of God, and inquire of the Lord by him, saying, Shall I recover from this disease? So Hazael went to meet him, and took a present with him of every good thing of Damascus, 40 camel loads. And he came and stood before him, and said, Your son Ben-Hadad king of Syria has sent me to you, saying, Shall I recover from this disease? And Elisha said to him, Go say to him, You shall certainly recover. However, the Lord has shown me that he will really die. Then he set his countenance in a stare until he was ashamed. And the man of God wept. And Hazael said, Why is my Lord weeping? He answered, Because I know the evil that you will do to the children of Israel. Their strongholds you will set on fire, and their young men you will kill with the sword, and you will dash their children, and rip open their women with child. So Hazael said, But what is your servant, a dog, that he should do this gross thing? And Elisha answered, The Lord has shown me that you will become king over Syria. Then he departed from Elisha and came to his master and said to him, What did Elisha say to you? And he answered, He told me you would surely recover. But it happened on the next day that he took a thick cloth and dipped it in water and spread it over his face so that he died. And Hazael reigned in his place. Here in verse 7 of chapter 8, we take a break from talking about the events in Israel to follow Elisha to Syria. The question is, why did Elisha go there? After all, back in chapter 6, the Syrians tried to have Elisha killed. All we can conclude from what occurs here in the text is that the Lord had directed Elisha to go, and so he went. What we find in Syria is that Ben-Hadad is sick. This Ben-Hadad is the same one from Ahab's days. Now, Ahab by this point had been dead for almost 10 to 11 years, and secular history would show us that Ben-Hadad would reign for about 23 years. So it is likely that Ben-Hadad is an aging man here. Not likely an old man in his 80s, but not a young man in his 30s either. So that sickness fell upon him wasn't out of the ordinary. Whether this sickness would lead to his death was of great importance to Ben-Hadad, and so when word came to him that Elisha had come to Damascus, Ben-Hadad sent Hazael with a present to Elisha so Elisha could inquire of the Lord about his sickness. Now, why would Ben-Hadad, an idolater, have faith in Jehovah? Well, let's remember what we have already learned from this book. Back in chapter 5, Naaman, a commander of the Syrian army, was healed of his leprosy through the power of God at the word of Elisha. In chapter 7, Elisha was involved in the Syrian defeat at Samaria, something that Ben-Hadad knew. So yes, Ben-Hadad didn't give up his idols to serve Jehovah, but he recognized that Jehovah was at the very least a God who could tell the future. So Hazael went to Elisha with this request. And what did Elisha say? That Ben-Hadad would surely recover, but the Lord had revealed to him that he would really die. Now, at first glance, this statement can be confusing and even contradictory. One might easily conclude that Elisha told Hazael to lie to Ben-Hadad, but let's examine the question and answer a little closer in order to understand what was really going on. Ben-Hadad's question was, will this disease kill me? And Elisha's answer was, no, the disease wouldn't kill him. Now we have to ask, why not? Because something else would. You see, Elisha was not telling Hazael to lie. Rather, all he was telling Hazael was that the sickness that befell Ben-Hadad would not be the cause of his death. But make no mistake, Ben-Hadad would die. Now, of course, it is a fact of life that everybody dies, but by revealing to Hazael that Ben-Hadad would die, he is saying that he wouldn't die naturally. Ben-Hadad would be killed. Now, Elisha didn't tell Hazael how this would be, just that it would be. During the conversation, Elisha learned something else, something that caused him great grief, which was that Hazael, the servant of the king standing before him now, would bring great distress and calamity upon Israel. He would behave so badly that it drove Elisha to tears. Hazael, when told of this, was dumbfounded, saying, "How could he, a dog, do such a gross thing?" By using the word dog here, Hazael is not using the term in a moral sense, but rather to refer to his current station in life. Hazael wasn't crown prince. He wasn't a commander in the army. How then could it be possible for him to do these wicked things? And the answer was that the Lord had shown Elisha that Hazael would become king over Syria. This statement here is what led us to the conclusion that Elijah had not in fact anointed Hazael king over Syria as the Lord had instructed in 1 Kings 19 verse 15, for Hazael didn't seem to have any knowledge about his future rule of Syria. In saying this, we're not accusing Elijah of disobeying the Lord, for there is very likely more to the story that is not recorded for us. What we have here then is in Elisha coming to Syria is the completion of Elijah's work. And although we don't read of Elisha physically anointing Hazael here, it cannot be ruled out either. Regardless, though, Hazael would be the next king of Syria. How would he become such? Well, he took Elisha's words back to Ben-Hadad and told him the disease wouldn't kill him. However, Hazael left out the part where Elisha said that Ben-Hadad would die another way. He left that out so that the next day he could take a water-dipped thick cloth and suffocate Ben-Hadad with it, seizing the throne. No, the Lord did not cause the death of Ben-Hadad, nor did he command Hazael to kill Ben-Hadad, but it was the will of the Lord that Hazael reign over Syria. And that will would be done no matter what. Hazael was the one who committed murder here, though, and the Lord used that to accomplish his purpose. But if Hazael was able to commit murder, he was also capable of doing the other things that Elisha foresaw as well, something we'll see in future lessons. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of 2 Kings chapter 8, verses 16 to 29, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time.
Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.